Hello and welcome back inside the Parc Fermé for podcast number 823. This is Todd.
No, Todd, not now!
AKA Negative Camber. You know why I've asked you here.
You must convince the villagers that I'm harmless.
That's exactly what I need to do tonight. For your kind consideration, we have a lot of car launches to cover. There was a plethora, a cornucopia, a mountain of car launches, and we're going to cover all of them and a couple other news tidbits. But, before covering that, I have to introduce my co-host, and you know what that means. That's exactly what that means. You know that music. That can only mean that we're traveling to the right coast of this nation in the USA and our nation's capital, where she plies her skills as Washington, D.C.'s most preeminent and well-known cat lady. You know her, you love her, the lovely, the redoubtable.
Grace!
Grace, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Todd. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, all things considered. You know,
that sounds right.
Any given Monday.
That's right. That's right. I don't know what day it is. Whatever.
I don't know. It could change at any moment. Moment.
Again, I always feel that at work, somebody will ask me in the first meeting of the day, why? I don't know. This is meeting 1 of 17.
Exactly.
Check in around 14. I'll let you know how I'm doing.
Exactly. Yes, I know. I'm familiar with that. Hey, Grace, there was a lot of car launches this past week.
Just a few. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, there's not a lot of rule changes between last year and this year, but that doesn't mean that the spate of car launches, mostly livery reveals, let's be honest, haven't shown us a few things. This week, we're going to talk about Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes, Alpine, and Aston Martin. If there's any one common thread, I would say, from all the car launches, it's just how much the color black is back in style for all these cars. There's lots of black on these cars.
Well, it's actually right. It's the absence of color, right?
Yes.
You gotta save that weight.
That's right. It's the absence of weight, right? Even the Ferrari had a lot of it. We'll get into that in a minute. But I thought we'd start the podcast right up top because, we don't cover the sport. We don't talk about it much. But this past weekend was what they call the Great American Race, the Daytona 500, the Super Bowl of NASCAR. And that race was kind of an odd. So I don't follow the sport closely, so I didn't know about the whole choose your lane thing, and then the green, white checker. But then if that's foiled, then it's a green, white. And then if it's something else, then they go back to when the yellow button was pushed, who was in the lead, and then that's how it ended. And bottom line is there's a couple of wrecks at the end. I mean, it was a good race. I enjoyed it, but it ended up being won by Ricky Stenhouse Jr., or as some call him, Grace, apparently, Ricky Spin-Twice Jr. I guess he's not a popular guy.
Yeah, I guess... Yeah, Jonathan would have a hard time keeping up with those rule changes at the end of the race. Did Max win? Did Max not win? What do we do? Hold on.
I know. Yeah.
I didn't watch the race. I mean, I haven't watched NASCAR in 23 years. Yeah, no, longer than that. I haven't watched since like 2002 or something. When was the last time I watched a NASCAR race? So
I haven't either. Yeah, I think you and I must have stopped about the same time.
I didn't know anything about any of these rules. I'm like, wait, what is going on?
I know. I couldn't really try, and it's not NASCAR's fault. It's just I don't follow it, so I'm not up on the rules.
But
I'll tell you. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say where they were like it won in overtime.
What?
How's a motor overtime in motorsports? I was very confused just by that concept. Like they call it overtime was just like. Is it like soccer? And if you screwed up, we just add it to the end? Like, what? I don't know. I was really like just perplexed by that statement of a race ending in overtime.
Well, I was
means.
already confused by the shootout for the cup for the thing, and then the playoffs, and they called it playoffs. And now we got overtime, and I'm waiting till somebody could kick for an extra point. I mean,
I get it. I don't watch NASCAR, but I do watch a lot of auto sports, right? Like, so every series has their own rule, just like, right, the XFL has different rules than Canadian football, which has different rules than the NFL. But I can understand what it is because it's all football, right?
Yeah,
even if it's like, oh, I don't think you can do that. Oh, that's the NFL. You can do that, right? Or something like that, right?
Right.
Just like college to pros, right? There's a lot of differences in the rules, but you can watch college football, you can watch NFL and kind of follow along. So anyway, I was just like, I get it. I don't watch NASCAR, but I should know. I don't know. I didn't know. I had to look it up. I'm like, so is that like the old, I mean, because right, I remember when they would always have, yellow, white check, green checker. I don't know what I'm talking about. Green. When there'd be a caution, then you just do 2 laps, right? And it would be green, white checker, right? Because you didn't want to end under caution. Like, I get that. That's the same thing we talked about in Abu Dhabi, right? Like, you don't really want to you want to end under green flag conditions. Like, I understand that part of motorsports is always a challenge, right?
Right.
But I was just like, overtime? What? How is that a thing? So
I know.
I don't know. I don't know if it's any clearer to me now than it was before, but
no.
I don't know.
I don't think it is to me either, but yeah, and so they had Chris Myers and a couple other guests, but behind the world's largest table.
Are you joining this podcast?
Well, yeah. What was funny is I saw the cat on the Burj Khalifa of cat trees, and she snaked around and then came down and stalked you, and it was so funny to watch her. Yeah.
I guess. All right, Mikasa, welcome to the show.
Yeah, welcome to the show.
Maybe she understands what overtime is in motorsports.
Well, she is trying to explain. So she's saying, okay, well, here's what choose your line is. Here's what,
a
green, white checker is. Come on.
It's not that hard, right?
I will say, the commentary team is okay, but I did miss, and I know he's still in the team, but not for the lap by lap color commentary, but is Larry McReynolds, right?
Oh my gosh. Larry Mack is still doing it.
Yeah, Larry Mack. So he's sort of like off to the side and they call him in once in a while. But I missed that whole, do you remember when he was doing the lap by lap, he had that sort of faux yelling at you thing going. You remember that? So it'd be like, so I'm sitting there, this is what I missed. He'd be like, Denny Hamlin going up on the high side. Going up there, going 3 wide. And then, they're like, oh, you're just chewing my ass. And it's kind of like, we're going to commercial. Go get a beer.
Here we go. Hurry
Pick up your damn socks on the way. It's
you
like,
slob.
You slob. What are you doing? It's like, I always felt like getting my butt chewed and watching a race at the same time with Larry Mack.
Yeah.
Loved it. I miss having that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was really when they made Darrell Waltrip a commentator that I was really like,
you were like the whole boogity, you can't do it.
DW, again, sure he's a nice person, fine as a driver, but I don't need to, I can't. Yeah. Not for 12 hours of a NASCAR race. I cannot listen to DW. Thank you.
Right. Well, anyway, congratulations to Ricky Stenhouse.
Yeah.
Thanks. So. Well, Grace, I've got big news. This is, wait a minute. My wife is just texting me crazy news here that I've got to look.
Okay. I'll just fill the space. All right. Hey, Mikasa, how's it going?
So, yeah, it's like pet evening.
Stretch. I got it.
Stretch, Grace.
We'll work it.
Yeah. So anyway, I do have breaking news. This just in from Aston Martin, Lance Stroll out of testing. That's exactly right, folks. You heard it probably last here. Everybody's already got memes out about it. But hey, we don't record until now, so this is when you're getting it from us.
That's right.
I was on it when it broke. I saw it. I tweeted about it. But, we're just recording now, and you're finding out Tuesday morning on the commute.
What kind of... I don't know. What expectation do people have? I don't know.
Oh, a lot, man.
Well, people, you need to bring it down a few notches. This is free. We do one podcast a week. Sometimes we do a couple extra fun stuff along the way, but bring it down a notch.
And we're only occasionally insightful.
That's it. I have some funny tweets every now and then. That's all I got for you.
That's it, man. Hey, it's worked for 17 years.
When you posted that.
I know. You're like, have we been doing it that long?
No, because real soon, like in more than 3 less than 5 years, they're going to be drivers on the course that are younger than this podcast. And I was not okay with that.
I know. Isn't that, it's amazing. Isn't it?
Not okay.
And I tweeted that, and I had somebody DM me and said, whoa, dude, I just found out about your podcast. You've literally been podcasting about F1 for 17 years. Yes, we have.
That's
yes.
Nuts.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then another dude said, now there's so many F1 podcasts, it's crazy, but you guys are the OG. So thank you for that.
There you go.
That was
nice. I think I don't know. I guess it's like all sports podcasts. There's some that I go like, I think we talk about it with websites. Like if I want news, I'm going to go to motorsports. I'm going to go to the race. If I want like something funny, I'm going to go to more of a content creator rather than like a journalist who's like on the track and knows people, right? Like, so I'm cool with all of it. Sometimes
there's room in this world for us and Jonathan Noble.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So we like Johnny. Johnny and us are like this. Jonathan's like, no, we are not like this. Anyway,
please take my name out of your mouth. Never say it again.
Yeah. The journalists, by and large, I would love to know if any F1 journalists listen to this podcast, because seriously, folks, I have and neither does Grace or Paul. We have no idea who listens to this podcast.
Not unless they tell us, right?
Not unless they tell us, right? And I don't know that any journalists do, but anytime I engage or try to be, collegial, engage with a journalist in social media, man, they avoid me like the plague. Like I'm like a blog or a pod. We're professional journalists. It's like, dude, there's room for both. I
don't know. Craig Scarborough answered one question I had once last season, and I was like, I gloated about that for days. Like, whatever.
And I wouldn't consider him a F1 journalist per se.
No, but he's a real person who knows stuff. He's not
he draws nice pictures.
Well, yeah, that takes a lot of knowledge, right?
It sure does.
And so he's not a schmo like me who's just like, oh, I do this podcast once a week. Look, these funny things I say. Like, he's a real person with knowledge that knows people and is a part of the sport. I was Scarborough, I know.
He knows Peter Windsor.
Yeah, that sure does. They do a show together, which is I find enjoyable because
I was on
like a little Peter Windsor.
I was on like 3 of his shows when he got started.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one, I slightly disagreed with him, and I was never on anymore.
Well, that sounds consistent with Peter Windsor's persona.
Sorry about that, Peter, but I got to be true to myself, man.
I don't know, but what good is? I mean, I know the answer, right? I think we all know those people, but what good is a show if I just go, yeah, Todd, you're right. Oh, Todd, that's a great point. Oh, you know what I mean? Like, there's no like give and take. There's no question asking. There's no, can't disagree with everybody.
No, good conversation, challenges, and covers a lot of different territory opinions. It was just all good conversation. But so anyway, good for Peter. He's doing like a solo video thing now, and they're fun. They're nice. So more power to them.
They are fun and nice. Yes,
they're fun and nice. Yeah,
that should be their tagline.
I'm Peter Windsor. I'm fun and nice. Yes, I think that would be good. Let's see. So, would you like to hear the official account of one Lance Stroll?
Sure.
I have the official press release from Aston Martin, and it reads like this.
Does it just say, ouch, 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 right?
Ouch. Shit, that hurts. That hurts.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't touch me there. That hurts.
Yeah.
Actually, it says, so here's the press release.
I want it now! What's the matter with those twats down there?
No, it doesn't say that.
No.
It says this, quote, and I do like him starting off with the word whilst. That is a word that needs to be in everyone's lexicon. We need to bring whilst back. It's been a long time since I've used that word, and it's such a great word. It starts out, it says, quote, whilst pre-season training on a bicycle in Spain, Lance Stroll was involved in a minor accident and sustained injuries which will result in him sitting out the preseason test in Bahrain. Lance is, however, expecting a quick recovery and return to driving duties. His fitness to return to the cockpit will be assessed daily, and the team will issue an update ahead of the Bahrain Grand Prix. The team wishes Lance a speedy recovery and looks forward to his usual energy and commitment within the team.
I think everybody at the team except for like Stoff Van Dorn wishes him a speedy recovery.
Yeah. I'm thinking this is
my shot.
I'll get into it in a minute, but I had to call bullshit when I got to his usual energy.
Yeah,
because that is not how
energy.
I would describe Lance. Anytime he's interviewed, I got to be honest, he is not like a Mentos in a Coca-Cola bottle.
I think the only way that would be funnier is if it was in reference to Kimi Räikkönen, right? Like,
yeah, that would be the only more non sequitur.
Right.
But beyond
His
that,
usual
Lance
energy?
is, no. So, and Stroll said, quote, I've had an unfortunate accident whilst.
What?
So you can tell, because Lance would never use that word.
No.
This team is
whilst.
written all this for him. And because Lance would never say whilst training.
He just said, ouch, 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 right?
Like, hello, 20-something social media person, press officer.
Whilst.
Don't use the same words and two different quotes from two different people. Accident whilst training on my bike in preparation for the season. I'm determined to get back in the car, and I'm excited about the season ahead with the team. I am motivated to bounce back from this setback as quickly as possible, end quote.
Yep.
He seemed like a keg of dynamite at that car launch. I mean, he's kind of like, what do you think? Yeah, it looks good. I hope it's fast.
I mean, again, I stand by, if Sebastian Vettel can't make you look fun and entertaining and engaging, which he was able to do with Kimi Räikkönen,
I know.
there's no hope for you, right? That's like the most people. He's got nothing. But I'd like to believe the conspiracy theory that it was like Fernando Alonso and just like lord over him as in a dark figure, like as if it's like Speed Racer or something, right? Like, that'll serve you right, kid,
Or if it was Stoffel, leaving, and there's Lance on his bike going down the hill. Ooh, squeezed him wide. Oh, sorry about that, Lance.
That was for my boy Alonso. Don't let it happen again.
That's right. Let that be a lesson to you. This is Alonso's world.
That's right.
All right. He has officially taken the position as Lawrence Stroll's son. You're adopted. Right. Now get out of here.
It's like the Lance Stroll version of the horse's head in your bed, right? Like, I just kicked the bike out from underneath you, and now you got owies.
Yeah.
Don't let this be a warning.
That's right. So all of you Lance fans, you won't have him to cheer for during testing. I would say if he broke his arm or something like that, or his wrist or something like that, that would be questionable, I think. Depends on how much pain and vibration and everything he can handle. But on the flip side, if you're Stoffel or whoever they're going to put in that reserve driver, two things could happen. A, it's great for them to get some seat time in real racing. And B, it may just show the team why maybe they ought to be looking for somebody else in that second.
Yeah, maybe.
Just saying. Got to be careful there, Lance. When you do those things, you can end up losing your seat.
That's
it
right. It
happens. All right, let's talk about some car launches. I'm tired of talking about Lance. Too much energy.
It's like too much energy. It's like quarterbacks in, football.
Yeah, right.
Right? Like, that's how Tommy Maddox got the job. Got an injury. Now I got a new quarterback.
That's right. That's exactly right. All right, first up is Ferrari. No! We've got the Ferrari launch.
First of all, you have to say it like Ferrari. I can never not say, so I realized that last week I was talking about how they picked Marty Smith to do the Red Bull launch, right? Because he has a Southern accent. And they're like, oh, Americans, they all sound like Marty. We'll get somebody with a Southern accent, right? I realize that I feel like all Italians should either speak like Mario and Luigi, which is also with the R's, right? Like Ferrari. Like, that's just, it feels weird to say it any other way, even though I have no Italian accent. But,
I don't know who Amy is. I mean, she bless her heart. She did a good job, but she could switch that Italian accent on that.
Yeah.
She said Ferrari.
Ferrari.
So, yes, it's Scuderia Ferrari.
I know. I'd be very disappointed if somebody was just like, oh, welcome to Ferrari. No.
It's got a welcome to Ferrari.
It's a Ferrari.
Yeah, it's a Ferrari.
It's me, a Mario, right? Like, that's
me, Amy. I'm here hosting a Ferrari.
That's my expectation. As much as I rail about people's expectation about how Americans sound, I clearly do it to other people, so all's fair.
I know. Well, anyway, they had a launch. Now, I got to be honest here. Now, okay, fine. Mea culpa. I'm a Ferrari fan. Everybody knows that. Look behind me on the YouTube version of this video. However, I do have to commend Ferrari for actually launching a car, then immediately putting it on track for a couple quick laps. I mean, that was pretty cool. That's far better than a photoshopped rendering of a new car livery.
Yeah.
And I really liked the fact that they did it. They held it at Maranello. That's its
Yeah.
spiritual home, and I like that a lot because Tifosi can all attend in Italy.
They got to hold up little yellow cards, little
yeah,
red cards,
yellow, red,
right?
white cards
I
for
don't
whatever
know.
that was.
I don't know.
And then, there was just less pretense around it
Yeah.
and more, I would say, DNA fueled passion, in my opinion.
It was
I just
kind of
felt-
like the opposite of Red Bull, right? It was kind of like,
yeah.
it felt more organic, or like, these are
More
my
natural.
people, right?
Yeah,
Like not
yeah.
some people we rented from the street.
Yeah. It's kind of like, hey, this is great. Those people behind me, that's Tifosi. That house right there, that's Enzo's house.
Yeah, right.
That track right there, that's Ferrari's track. That
Right.
factory over there, that's our wind tunnel, and that's where we build this damn car.
Yeah.
And by the way, here is the damn car. Oh, hold on, give me the keys. I'm going to go drive it around for you.
Right.
I mean, that's just super
I liked
cool.
it. Yeah.
I liked it a lot better than just livery launches and that kind of thing. So kudos to Ferrari about that. So what do you think of the, I mean, let's be honest, we're going to talk about these car launches. The reality of it is these aren't the cars that are hitting the track. So we haven't seen all the real bits and bobbles yet. Maybe a few hints and innuendos and stuff, and maybe Aston Martin's more so than others, but according to them. But anyway, we'll see the actual cars when they hit the road.
No, that's right. It's preseason. That caveat still sticks. That who knows what we'll really see in Bahrain?
Right.
Who knows what we'll see in testing?
But it's a
fun.
livery launch. Did you like the Ferrari livery? Sticking with the matte red.
Yes.
Marc Genet sure liked it.
Yeah, it's surprising to me. I don't know. I forget that humans age. I always think of Marc Genet as much younger, and it's like right because I remember Marc Genet when like in the early 2000s. Surprise! 20 years later, he looks older, 20 years older, just like we all do.
He's a 60-year-old man.
Yeah, I mean, it's a problem. I had the same problem with we were watching, this was last season, we were watching a Formula E, and I was like, that's Pascal Wehrlein? That's not what I remember him looking like. Right, I remember what he looked like 10 years ago.
Right.
Again, he's grown up just like we all do, right?
Yeah. I was watching a video the other day, and I haven't seen one of him of late, but I was watching a video of the band Toto, and there's Steve Lukather, who is a monster guitar player, by the way. And he stopped coloring his hair, so he's like gray. He's got that gray afro going. I thought, hey, Steve, wow, you aged, But it was like, well, of course he did.
It's like 20 years, right?
Yeah.
So it's totally reasonable, but yes, there's a part of me that always goes, "That's what Marc Genet looks like." Oh, right, dummy.
Yeah.
And so when he like raced. When there was more of a role for a test driver back when
right.
You had unlimited hours and Ferrari just ran on their own track and you saw much more. And I was just like, oh, yeah, we're all a little different now, 20 years later.
It's been a while since you've seen Marc Genet.
Yeah. I always do love, too, when they break out the Ferrari suit with the little crest, right? It's like.
Yes, I like that, too. How cool is that?
Yeah, it's like, it's very Ferrari.
It's very Ferrari. I was trying.
Oh, good.
Well, no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say. So I liked that they tried to like have some banter between Fred and Charles and Carlos with the like coin flip, and I like they're trying to build some kind of rapport there, which I think is important because I'm sure Carlos is already like, I'm not the number one driver here. And then you literally got rid of that guy and you brought in this guy for that other guy, so you're bringing in Leclerc's guy. I was like, Carlos is starting to like sweat some big bullets. So I think it's good that there's some like, trying to get some banter between the three of them. And I thought very much so that I did like when Carlos was like, oh, let's not get ahead of ourselves here, people. We're just it's just the car. We don't know. I was like, nice, because when it explodes in 10 races, you want to be able to say, I'm a good driver. That wasn't me.
Right.
I did like that there was a little bit of like, well, let's manage expectations because we don't know yet.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Right, like the subtext being, I'm not the one that sucks. This car probably does. So keep that in mind, people.
Yeah.
Very good, Carlos. I mean, I guess my segue to that is I agree. I like that they showed the car. I like that they did it at their track. I like that we actually got to see it. But the car with Ferrari is never what makes me nervous. Their car is great. Their car always looks great. Their car performs great. Their problem is reliability and strategy. And neither of those we get to see at a car launch. So
I know.
So I'm like, of course, their cars. I mean, the car wasn't their problem last season either. I would expect that this year's car would be great too. It's just the like flaming engines and
reliability.
Yeah. And the strategy calls. So hopefully they've worked some of those bugs out and Ferrari will have a better season, but there's that.
I knew I had this. Sorry, I was looking for it. There's me and Mark Genet.
There you go. See?
There you go. That's me and Mark Genet. See how little he is? He's
a little guy.
He's a little man. Yes.
It's helpful though, because I've seen you in real life. So I know it gives me a nice scale of what Mark Genet must look like.
It's always funny because I have all these conference calls with my colleagues in Europe, and then when they come over to the States and then I finally meet them, they go, "Holy cow, you're tall. I had no idea."
Right.
On Teams or Zoom, I didn't, you look, normal. I had no idea, It's like,
I joked about that too. Like because I started the job I currently have during the pandemic. And so some of the people I knew that I worked with in real life, right? Like some of them I'd seen. So that became my marker. Like, are you taller or shorter than this person? Oh, I'm shorter than. Oh, okay, good. So like you could at least, because you never had any sense of, like you were saying, how tall somebody was. And so then it was like, oh, people have shoes and legs, and it's not just this, right? So it's not just your head. But it was really funny that I then went to a conference last year, and it was like that was the first time I'd met some of my coworkers in person, even though we'd been working together for a year and a half on this project.
Yeah, right.
I'd never seen them in person. It was kind of weird.
Yeah, it was kind of funny.
Yeah, so I could see that people are just like, oh. Yeah, you'd have no idea if this is the only view you ever saw the other person.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like I'm giant of the earth. I'm 6'3", so it's not like I'm 6'7", 6'9" with afro, like Fletch.
Yes, right. Yeah. But no, I don't know. You have no idea how tall. I just think it's really funny though. It was just like, oh, hey.
Yeah, it's poor
what you look
Mark
like.
Genet. And Mark shouldn't feel too bad because Felipe Massa, I've been with him. He's even smaller.
Yeah, Jean Todd's other son.
And Jean Todd's even smaller. I've been around Jean Todd.
Jean Todd is you just put him in your pocket.
He's like a Russian stacking doll.
Yes. I just always like that, like Michelle Yeoh is so tall and then she wears heels so she's even taller. And then there's little Mr. Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah, Mr. Michelle Yeoh.
With his scarf that he always wears.
Yeah, 80 degrees out and he got a scarf on. But it was the same way. It was his red jumper.
With a red jumper, that's all that's missing is the red jumper. They won't let him wear that to the award shows.
Right. Unfortunately.
I don't know. Ferrari's like, no, you can't have that. You can't take that with you, sir. Ferrari,
no. All logo gear stays here.
Yeah. So I did, before we move on from Ferrari, I did want to give a shout out to the lady that had the I'm single too, Charles Leclerc Valentine's Day sign. I thought that was great. I love that they had it on Valentine's Day. And I also did love the conspiracy theory that it was done that way on purpose to kind of keep Charles Leclerc from getting in trouble, whatever. But I love that lady. I love that chutzpah that she was just like, hey, if you're not doing anything, me neither. I live over there. I'm single. You're single.
That house over there. Yeah.
Right on, man.
And I did appreciate Carlos went out and got him a haircut.
Yeah.
He's looking, very, very.
Yeah, he had very, very nice, whoever's doing his hair did a very nice job.
Had that thing just plastered down,
Yeah, well.
Something that escapes Lance every year.
I don't think you can't. I think ever since that one picture from like 3 or 4 seasons ago where he looked like he was wearing one of those Russian hats, those Russian fur hats, and that was his hair. I mean, it's just like for
energy.
For as thin as my hair is, and that I would never have that kind of volume.
Yeah,
I'm just so jealous of the fact that he has so much volume that somebody's like, is he wearing a hat? I'm not sure. That's his hair. Nobody's ever going to make that mistake with my hair.
It could be Russian sable for all we know. I have no idea.
Exactly. Or he just needs a date with the Floby. Who knows?
My God, he's in Gorky Park. Jeez. All right.
Well, so anyway, Lance.
Is that William Hurt? It is. Okay. That's a really obscure movie reference. Sorry.
Yeah. I didn't keep going. I did want to know though, is how this all counts, how because we always worry about engine reliability and cost cap now. Like, so does this fit under their PR budget? Is this like a racing engine budget? Like, I don't know how this running on the track counts.
Marketing, wouldn't it?
I don't know. We'll have to ask Christian Horner. I
thought you were going to weigh in and give us an in-depth critique of Fred for his first time interviewed as a Ferrari team boss.
I mean,
he seemed a little loose, a little looser.
Again, I think
not
they
as buttoned up as the past.
I don't know. They tried to give him, like I said, they tried to give him some rapport building with the three of them.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, but he was kind of, there's a couple of years of like, I don't know, brand new. I don't know what the hell's going on.
I just got here yesterday. I don't know what the hell's going on.
I don't know. Yeah, it's the first time I'm seeing the car. It looks good. It's like, yeah, okay, Fred.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you mean me? You wanted me to answer that question? Oh, okay.
May want to stay late tomorrow, Fred, and get to know people.
Yeah, might be a good idea. But yeah, I was just like,
go down to the canteen and eat lunch with some of the folks.
Fast doesn't eat lunch.
No, Fred probably doesn't eat lunch.
He's just a protein bar kind of guy.
You think?
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. He could be. All right, let's talk about Alpine, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Alpine had a launch.
They did.
Now, first up, I got to say, you got to love that house mix, pumping that beat, man.
Yeah.
Right? That was, man, that was loud, too.
I was glad that somebody listened. I mean, them and Aston Martin, like, I'm glad somebody listened to the fact that, like, you can have some, show here.
I know.
Some lights, some lasers, some music.
Trance. They got Tiesto. They got Tiesto in here, man. This is crazy. Those French are crazy.
French are crazy.
So, but you have to like that. And to be fair, I really thought that the host, Vic Hope, did a really nice job. I thought she did a really good job. And holding the launch in London, that was a nice touch.
Yeah.
And if you guys haven't figured out, I'm not these we're just going to talk about the launches, and I'm just going to share my initial opinions on it. If you guys were expecting me to go deep into, well, I noticed that the front nose had a strake that came off to the right. It was different. Last year it went off to the left, and that's going to impact outwash because it's 30 centimeters longer. And that's not what I'm doing here.
I appreciate that Ferrari still looks like a piece of rotten fruit in the side pods. Nicely done.
Yeah. So I'm not going to go into that kind of detail because these aren't the cars that are hitting track. So I'm giving you mine just overall general 30,000 foot impression. Holding him in London, I thought that was a nice touch for a French team. Oui.
Yeah.
Omelette du fromage. Also, it was nice to hear that Luca, the CEO, it was good to hear from him. His commitment to F1 I thought was good, and how it's an important part of Renault's goals, and that they're in it for the long term. I thought all of that was very on point, and certainly if you're Alan Permain, you feel a little more comfortable about that. And then you had Laurent, the guy that got completely humiliated by Alonso and Piastri and everybody else. He says that the brand Alpine in their road cars has more, the brand appeal and brand impact has more than doubled. So that's a really good thing. And he said that their online car configurator was hammered since Drive to Survive and all that.
Yeah.
With the U.S. IP addresses being fourth in total visits and car configurations, and they don't even sell in this market.
They haven't sold cars here since what, like the 80s? Late 80s, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, maybe they should think about selling some over here.
Oh.
But I thought that was bizarre.
Yeah.
First of all, you go to configure a car. That's one thing. You could see if you're up in Lille, France, and you got some extra coin to rub together, and you want to configure an Alpine. Maybe. But a guy in Des Moines, Iowa, okay,
cool. Sure.
So that's good. I thought Otmar. Very much like Fred, very, very approachable, very collegial attitude.
Very Otmar, yes.
Very Otmar, he said that the cars are lighter, that they have a very aggressive. Now this is interesting because they kind of made a little bit about this. They were saying, look, it's an evolution of a car, but this year we've designed a car that will accept a very aggressive development cycle.
All right.
Now, I think that's a real key to watch this year. If you're Alpine fans, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. If you're newer to Formula One, so we always talk about they launched the cars in Australia, the first race, water Bahrain, the first race, and that's what you get. And then from that race on, it's all about development for the rest of the season.
Right.
So how much you develop, how much of the cost cap monies did you hold back to create that development cycle, and who's going to win what Grace and I call the development war.
Right.
So it's interesting that Alpine has already planned on this car to be very upgradable throughout the year and have committed to having one of the more aggressive development cycles. And that's going to be interesting. Because usually, as Grace and I have talked in the past, usually, you come out strong, you develop, and then as the championship starts to flesh out a little bit, you get towards the end of the year, and the development for the small teams comes to a grinding halt. They've switched their focus to the following year's car. They're not developing these cars very much, and so you kind of get what you get. But the top teams run at the sharp end of the grid, develop all the way to the end, usually. And if Alpine's going to do that, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, and they did announce that Jack Doohan will be their reserve driver.
Yeah, waiting for that MotoGP segue.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
How about that? Did you ever see Doohan race in MotoGP?
No, Mick Doohan raced before I watched.
Yeah, okay. I wasn't sure.
That was before my time.
Yeah. So anyway, Mick's son Jack going to be the reserve driver. Not going to catch Alpine out off guard like that again, but sticking with that Australian theme, right?
Right.
They kind of like Australian drivers, don't they?
I mean, sure.
It's
fun. I don't know. I have no, as much as I use like Petter Solberg as the counterpart to Kimi Räikkönen, right? Like,
yeah.
Not every Finn is boring.
I think Alpine knows what
we
we know here at TPF.
Yeah.
And this is why we love Australians so much. So much I have 2 Australian Shepherd dogs. I think Alpine reckons that drivers from Australia, where an octopus the size of the palm of your hand can kill you in 30 seconds, I reckon they figure a hardy stock like that, those people are the drivers we're after.
That's right. They're like water off a duck's back, right?
When you wake up and just about everything that's alive can kill you, then I think that's it.
Yeah, that's right. You're like, what's this? I'm safe. There's not a kangaroo chasing me around. I'm good.
Right. So anyway, that was Alpine. Car looked good, didn't you think?
Yeah, I thought the car looked good. I think that of all the car launches, I think Alpine gave us, I think them and Aston Martin, gave us kind of the most to talk about. I do like the Barbie slip and slide that's now developed across the top of the side pod. So we'll see if the slip and slide effect, I like calling it the slip and slide, right? We'll see if that sticks. But you are starting to see some aggressive changes with the side pods.
Oh, you're talking about how the tops of them are kind of canoed out?
Yeah, right. It looks like a little slip and slide.
It's a Barbie a Barbie dream house.
Exactly, right? Woo, right. So, I'm just going to fix those. We're good.
Just fix them.
They're falling off my head. Well, that's good. What? Well, we're professionals here or something. It's not like we're recording a show. Whatever. My headphones are not staying on my head.
Above it.
It's fine. Yeah. So anyway, I really like the Barbie slip and slide across the top of the side pods. We'll see how that works. And, all the aero stuff going on there. And I just really like that it was kind of the opposite of the like grainy Zapruder film that Red Bull gave us. Like, we're going to show you the car, but it's going to be so grainy. Like, I hate Red Bull. Like, you're just a bunch of jerks. Just do like everybody else and just don't show us. Right. But like, we're going to show you it out on the track, but you can't tell anything.
No.
I that was just annoying. So
it like is the magic bullet. Yes.
Yeah, right. I just like that Alpine was like, no, we're gonna show it to you. We're gonna do a nice presentation, in
4K.
That's right. Here we are in this auditorium.
Yeah.
I thought that, they had they're always the team. Alpine, I'm always thinking, one of these days they're going to do good. They're going to be fully committed. They're going to fully send it. I feel like we say that every year. I don't know. Maybe it's just like the preseason hopefulness in me. Maybe this is actually going to be the year that Alpine actually challenges the top three, and not just because the top three come closer to them in the points, right? Like, you want them to actually do well and close the gap, not just that like Mercedes has another bad season and the gap gets closed that way, right?
Yeah, right.
So I'm feeling, I'm feeling the Otmar. I'm getting the vibes here. I like that they kind of we're putting that out there, and I'm ready. I'm ready to believe it. And I do think there was some the Ocon Gasly kind of like, Ocon seems a little more on the like. I know Ocon's like, yeah, we can be professionals. We can do this, and Gasly's like,
yeah, okay. Ocon's already picking fights. They go, well, you guys go back when you were young, right? Yeah, we've been karting with 6, and I was a lot taller than you.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that there's no way this is gonna like work out well. But I like that they're trying. I like that they're trying to pretend like they're trying. So we'll see how well Ocon and Gasly works out, especially if they do run into each other at some point. That'll be bad. That'll all just, you thought Alonso was bad. This is just all going to fall apart. But
my prediction is that this duo will have its issues and its moments, but I think in total it will work better than Alonso Ocon.
I think anything will work better than Alonso and anybody, because Alonso, I am an Alonso fan, but he is the number one driver. He wants to be number one. He expects, the Alonso clause, right? That's his expectation. There is no like, we're teammates. It's like, hi, I'm Alonso, and this is the other guy that's going to be racing.
This is my team. Yes.
Right. And, I think he tried with Ocon, but it didn't, it took it like 3 races where he was like, Ocon tried to kill me.
Yeah, well, and Ocon took out Perez a few times too. Yeah, I mean, Ocon's got that streak in him that.
So,
it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds.
I think if Alonso could race with Alonso, he'd be fine. I think that's the only way he could have a teammate, right? Is if he was a clone of himself.
Right. Well, speaking of Alonso, we go down to Aston Martin's car launch. Let's see. I thought it was good for Aston Martin to get Rachel Brooks. I thought, to host the event. Rachel always does a fabulous job on Sky Sports. Always enjoy the work she does, and she did no different here. A very good job of hosting that. Nice to hear Lawrence have realistic goals.
Yes.
And he knows that it takes time. But I have to say that his investment, looking at that factory and everything, his investment is I like that they shot it at night so you can really see all the crap and construction material and all the crap laying around and all that stuff. But anyway, apart from that, his investment is astounding, and not just for the F1 car, but really for the brand as a whole, right? Yeah. As a complete smart factory, I thought that was pretty cool. People, process, and tools is what he said, and that's where he's focused. And he's trying to build a top shelf luxury brand, and he knows that it takes time. And if Aramco and Cognizant can offset a large portion of the F1 team's costs, that's rapid prototyping R&D that that they can bring to their cars and that their road cars can benefit from. And I think that he's looking at this much bigger picture than just a dude wanting to buy an F1 team. So I commend him for that. I think he's doing a really good job on that. I guess for me, the biggest question is, can Lawrence win with a Mercedes engine? Or will he ultimately do like Red Bull has done because he owns a road car, which is a supercar? Will he ultimately build his own? I think that'll be an interesting situation to discuss. Yeah. And to see over time if he continues with the Merc. And then finally, Grace, we've got to talk about Fernando Alonso's hair. What is going on?
You need to see Carlos's guy. What? It was just like somebody took a lot of gel or something and just like went like this with their fingers through his hair. Like Alonso, I mean, I often joke like you can clearly tell when like Toto Wolff does his hair versus anybody else does his hair, because that's not the way he wears his hair, right? Well, Alonso's this. I was just like, have you never seen how Alonso wears his hair? What is this monstrosity that you've just put on top of his head? It was just like sticking like out. I don't know. It was a very weird look for him.
That was
I don't recommend it.
Yeah, it was a very strange hairdo.
Yeah.
He should have got a whole bunch of gel and went all Gordon Gecko on it.
Yeah, right.
Or something. But that whole poofy sticking all up,
I
it
don't
looked like
know,
it
like
got singed or something. And it was.
And Alonso has perfectly fine hair. There's no need for this, right?
No
like
need for that.
no receding hairline, no thinning hair, no
Yeah.
I mean, his hair is fine. So just let it live.
I feel like he felt a little intimidated by Lance's bristle
I mean,
pad.
Lance does have a lot of hair.
Lance has got a ton of hair. And I think Lando, even down to the hairstyle, doesn't want to be one-upped by Lance.
No, that's right. That's right.
That's the only answer I can come up with.
Oh, I don't know. It made him feel a little insecure, maybe.
Maybe. And he's in the in makeup going, no. Yeah, did you see Lance's hair? It's like a Brillo pad. All right. I need Brillo pad. I need to get volume, lift it all up. I don't want to go out there and get completely outshone by Lance's coif.
That's right. I refuse. The Alonso clause.
The Alonso clause.
I just think that's right. In all things.
In all things, including hair.
Yeah.
I agree. And now we come to your team.
I have more commentary.
Oh, go for it.
I did have commentary on Alonso's hair, but it was mostly, I just really also wanted to mention that I liked when Lance stuck it to Alonso and was like, oh, I was a Michael Schumacher fan. Right? Like, I watched you race, which already is bad enough, right? As I've mentioned, that anytime you are the younger person interviewing with a job for an older person, never mention that, right? Like, never mention something that's going to point that out. Equally, old people don't, as I am now, don't say to people like, oh, Led Zeppelin, you don't know who they are. Don't say those things either. Like, just don't try to point out superiority or lesser than because of age, right? Just move forward. So anyway, I like that Lance was kind of like, oh, I watched you race, which is already hard enough that I watched you race, right? And then he's like, but I was still rooting for Michael Schumacher. Right to his face. He could have said anything. He could have just been like, yeah, I watched you race, period. Move on. No, he was just like, I was a Michael Schumacher fan. I'm still a Michael Schumacher fan. And I watched you race and I was rooting for Michael. So take that, old guy.
Yeah. So. And I liked what he said. Well, and you got a new teammate. He goes, oh, yeah, I forgot. Oh, boy.
Great. It was great. So
going to be an interesting year.
Those are going to be my first unboxed videos to watch. I can't wait to watch that happening together. Yeah. That synergy is going to be great.
It is.
I can't wait.
Be good. Yeah.
I can't wait. I mean, you thought that Ocon and Alonso had no chemistry.
Yeah.
Well, Lancey boy and Alonso is going to be great. So.
I know. Because Vettel had to work hard to have some modicum of a relationship and fun in those unboxing videos, but Alonso is.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
And I think. Oh,
that's funny. I did like when he was on full charm offensive though, saying, "Yeah, I can see Lance winning the championship."
Oh yeah, that's gonna last for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
I give that like race 2 before you stop saying those kind of things.
Yeah.
It'll be over.
Yeah,
teammate, what teammate? I don't have a teammate.
Right.
But I do think on the serious side, I do think it'll be interesting. I think this is the year we'll see what Aston Martin's got.
I agree.
This will be so they stole Red Bull's their era guys, Dan Fallow. So this will be the first car he started last year, but this would be the first car that he's going to help develop. So
yeah,
we'll see what Aston Martin's got up their sleeves, because for as much as Red Bull stole everybody else's engineers, it's because Aston Martin stole all their engineers. So
right.
We'll see how
Red Bull stole Mercedes engineers.
Right. I mean, it's so are the days of our lives, right? Like the sands in the hourglass. Somebody steals
sands in the hourglass.
Right. Somebody steals somebody's engineers and somebody steals somebody else's. So
it's the young and the restless.
That's right. And so that's what happened. So we'll see. I think Aston Martin. This could be their year. I still think I'm most interested in seeing what Alpine does, but I'm keeping an eye on Aston Martin.
I agree. I agree. Those two, it could be an interesting battle.
Yeah.
Let's see, for McLaren, we go all the way up to Woking. I was a little lost at the intro because I have no clue who Vic Star is.
I didn't know.
No idea. And the girl, I had no idea who she was either. No idea. And I hear this dude comes out and he's wearing a hoodie for a car
Yeah.
launch. Like, is this his thing? Or, I don't
I don't know.
This John Fetterman? What are we doing here with the hoodie?
It could
and
be.
stuff?
I don't know.
So,
I'm over the age of 25. I have no idea.
yeah. So getting a little too hip, maybe. I don't know. That was weird, but it was a nice touch. I thought going back and talking about Bruce McLaren, their opening segment, I thought was very touching.
Yeah. 60
Uh,
years.
Yeah, yeah, and they're celebrating 60 years, and I think that's great. The best part is also, I thought, all of those brands on the car
Yeah.
that Zach has brought to that
Doing a
team
good
as
job.
sponsors, and that is a great thing for McLaren to have all of those brands and sponsors. Zach's just doing a bang-up job there. Nice touch, I thought so, from Andrea for right up front. Said, first of all, I want to thank the entire team. He thanked the whole team for their effort. They had a couple quick camera tosses over to the irascible Martin Whitmar sitting over there with a weird look on his face, but they didn't put him in front of the camera to talk. So it's interesting. I really liked their moniker, Forever Forward. I thought that was a great moniker, a great emotional buzzword to get behind. And I like that whole strong dive into the emotional history of McLaren. Well done. So they're, juxtaposing. It's forever forward. We're always thinking forward. They had Lando say, I don't ever think about the history. I only look forward, right? But then they combine that with this 60-year history. So I thought it was kind of interesting to run the piece about Alonso saying, I don't really give a damn about the past. And we're here to celebrate 60 years of history. Yeah. You don't really care about the past, right? But I thought it was done really well in sort of juxtaposing, saying, hey, for us, it's forever forward. Lando doesn't think about the past. He's thinking about the future.
Yeah.
And yet we've got 60 years, and here's on this man, this amazing man's name. And so I just thought it was really well done all the way around.
Yeah, that part was.
Yeah.
The car.
Well, that's a fun-looking, Googled-up car, isn't it?
Oh, my God. This season is not going to be great. I think that's it. A lot of people are like, wow, they were kind of very somber at McLaren. I think McLaren knows exactly what situation they're in.
Yeah.
They're really pushing for, next year, 2016. No, 2016. I say that every time. 2026, again, forever forward. They're really looking forever forward. They're not looking at right now. So
I don't know how long you can keep Lando.
I don't know, but I think I do think that's going to be the hard part. I think that everybody can kind of wait this out except for Lando. He cannot. Yeah. And I think if he gets another opportunity, very much like Carlos, I think if he gets another opportunity somewhere else, no one can be mad at him for taking it. Why wouldn't you? I think that you don't want him to be wasting his time with your team still trying to get it together.
If I'm Toto, I would be all over Lando and replacing Lewis. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. So I think it'll be a big year for Lando. I think that they were very sort of like overly managed expectations. Maybe a lot of people were just like, man, they were really like, oh, yeah, well, we'll be at the races. We'll finish.
See you soon.
Yeah, right. We like
McLaren.
We like 8th. It'll be good, and then we won't know until next year how they're gonna renumber, because it wasn't like they were at number 60. They like skipped to number 60 for this car. So I don't know if they're gonna go back to the other number scheme or just gonna pick up with 61 for next year. But
so I like that consistency and just progressing forward. Ferrari, as a Ferrari fan, they've been all over the board. The SF, and then the F-150, and then the it's SF-23. It's just they've been all over the board.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
Can remember them
all. Ferrari. That's true. Ferrari is the opposite, right? In the funniest way possible. Every year is something totally different, and there seems to be no relationship from year to year with their numbering scheme. So we'll see what McLaren does. But yeah, I just really wanted to talk about their launch as little as possible.
Okay, we'll move on.
And then somebody was like, why do they have so much Google stuff and Chrome? Why is there so much Chrome stuff? Again,
a lot of Google.
Again, did we mention this last week? Somebody bought the next level above tote bag, right? Like that's what you get, right? They bought wheel covers was part of their plan, right?
I know.
They get the tote bag, the socks, and the wheel covers,
and
right?
the wheel covers, yeah.
Money, that's how you get there. It's not like
I
McLaren.
get it all. I got this cool McLaren tote bag.
You get everything at the first level. Plus, like, who gets... Nobody was like, oh, I know what we're going to do. We're going to do... No, nothing is free on that car. Every space is sold as much as they can. So...
Right. So
there it is. All right.
And finally, we're going to talk about the Mercedes launch.
It happened.
It did. I thought the whole green room, control room prior to the start was kind of fun.
Yeah.
That was all right. I was wondering though, because it's like a minute before they were supposed to go on or whatever, and the way that they presented it, and so you had Toto going, okay, so where do I stand, and what's the seating order, and what are we talking about? It's kind of like, did nobody send you a script before this? You're Toto. I'm sure you signed off on the script. I'm sure.
Oh, he didn't read it. It's just like Paul and I doing this show. You send us the notes. It's not like we read them, right?
Right.
I think the best would have been is if Toto went like this and went, is that Stefano Domenicali out there?
Yeah. Is that Stefano? Is that who I see? Yeah.
Is that you? That would have been great. I would have enjoyed that.
I'm glad they weren't doing an XR stage in green screening, or Naomi would have disappeared. Man.
Except for her shoes, right?
Except for her shoes. I know. That was a green suit, man.
It was very green.
I thought it was a nice touch also by Toto to expand on how important Mick's arrival is. And I thought that was a really kind move by him because, I think it was Pink or whoever asked Mick, and he's kind of like, I'm going to, I'm not going to be on track, but I'll try to do as much as I can. And, I'll be watching video and hopefully I can help these guys. And, Mick kind of, he's a young guy. I don't know if he played it down or whatever it was, but then she went to Toto with a totally different question. Toto, being a leader, he realized Mick kind of played it down, and he wanted to make sure that Mick felt part of that team and that he was going to be important to it. So, whether he is or isn't doesn't matter, but I thought that was a good leadership by Toto to sort of double down on Mick's the importance of Mick being there.
But I think that Toto did it in the most like Toto Wolff ad-libbed kind of way, right?
Yeah,
so
right.
You could see that he kind of was like, we love Mick. We're glad Mick is here. Oh, wait, I'm sitting next to my other two. Like you can see this conversation. I said, oh, wait, but I can't be so positive about Mick that George and Lewis feel like I don't support them. So how can I give props to Mick and not make these guys feel bad? And so he goes, well, I don't know. Maybe one of them will get fish poisoning. And Lewis is like, I'm vegan. And, they laugh about that. And then he goes, avocado poisoning. And I can't do an Austrian accent, but the way he said avocado poisoning was hilarious. I think all week Flip and I walked around. I mean, we weren't eating avocados, but it was just like, what's wrong? Avocado poisoning. It never stopped being funny. Okay. But it was just like, I agree with you that he really was. I think we've all been in that position where you're just like, Todd, you're doing great. And then you're like, crap, I can't make it seem like Todd stands out from the rest of the team. But you guys were great too. Avocado poisoning, right? So I love that he did try to recover, which is now my favorite soundboard quote ever of avocado poisoning, whatever that is. So I think that we, like you said, all the caveats of this isn't, this is preseason. But
I wonder if they'll show up with a zero pod again.
I mean, right? Isn't that what we were all we were waiting for? And then,
well, it doesn't matter what it is on the livery on the launch.
No, right?
Because last year they had a normal side pod, and then when they showed up, it was gone, right?
So that was the talk of the town for sure. The zero side pods, and so we'll see what they actually show up with. That and the little slot gap front on the front wings are now allowed to be like little arrow whoops, like little
which I think they tried to prototype late last year,
and
but
then they didn't run them.
Took them off because the FIA was raising eyebrows over that. But now Ferrari came out this year and has something very similar to that.
Yeah. So now everybody has these little baby wings, right? Like little Barbie wings.
Yeah, right.
On their slot gap on the front wing.
On the front nose,
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes for everybody, and see if those make it all the way. And I think Toto just he's trying to both apologize for last season and be positive about this season and manage expectations. Be realistic. Yeah. And so I think he had it was a tough job coming in, kind of to say, like, I'm sorry, last year sucked. This year will be better. But don't get too excited about this year being better because it won't be that better, Yeah. So I think it's kind of a tough speech to give. So he did a good job.
I agree. I also thought Pink did a great job, as always. And see, these are the kind of things I actually think Naomi does well. Better than like that sort of driver commentary for Sky. I think when she does features and interviews and stuff like this, I think when she can script them out, when she can think them out, when they're planned and they've got, editing, not necessarily her, but when they're editing interview and she can go through. And I just think she excels much more at these kind of things than she does just general race commentary as part of the Sky crew on scene. And because she's not a broadcast professional. So throwing her in that is throwing her into the deep end, whereas I think she could really gain her broadcasting chops by doing features like this and car launches and interviews and special features for Sky and F1. I think this is better. So anyway, but she did a good job too. Yeah. All right, let's do some Albon's Cats. Yes, Albon's Cats. What do you got for us, Grace?
Well, I was just going to say, speaking of Jack Doohan, MotoGP also had its first round of testing this past weekend.
Yes.
So, and I think high level, if you're on Honda specifically, you're in trouble. It's never good when you have to run the bike with no arrow on it. Like they brought I was listening to the Races podcast and they were talking about how they brought 4 bikes for Marc Marquez to try. He didn't like any of them. They took all the arrow off. Marc Marquez tried to brush it off as well, got a new crew chief. We're trying to figure things out. We wanted him to see it without the arrow stuff on it, just so he could figure it out. Nice try. It's a disaster. So good luck. And then if you aren't one of the 72 Ducati riders on track this year, just like last year, also they're just going to dominate. There's so many of them. And as much as some of the other bikes have progressed, so have Ducati, right? We talk about that in Formula One, right? It's not like, Mercedes gets better. Everybody else is also a moving target as well, right? It's not just your progress, it's the other team's progress as well as how you line up. So, Ducati is just going to be dominant again. So be prepared for that. And then I did want to, since I wanted to give a shout out because Sergio was on Jimmy Fallon this week. He did an electric go-kart race. Your friend of the show, Jim Farley, was there giving Jimmy some pointers. And and then he raced Sergio. So
did Jim Farley say,
"Well, Lottie frickin' God"?
No.
He did not. And I don't know if that comes up in conversation or if people have the same reaction that we do, which is like, man, that guy really looks like Chris Farley.
Yeah. I legit, folks, and I said this on a podcast, when they did the Red Bull launch, I literally did not know who the head of Ford was. And I didn't know any of the background. As soon as he walked on stage, the very first thing out of my mouth was, damn, that looks like Chris Farley.
Yeah.
And his name's Farley. I thought, is this like his brother
weird.
or something? That's weird. And then we were texting about it, and Flip looked it up and said, it's a cousin. I thought, oh my gosh, no wonder.
Yeah, it looks just like him. So
it does.
I have many things that I take liberty of bringing up as complaints that I have on this show. But one of them definitely has to be, if you're going to give somebody a nickname, just either call them the nickname or call them their first name. I hate this whole look, it's Sergio Checo Perez. He's either Checo Perez or he's Sergio Perez, not Sergio Checo Perez, right? I don't know. I mean, I think that they get it right in MotoGP. Like
Carlos Chili signs.
Yeah, just he's either chili or he's not. Although, I mean, everybody calls him Checo. Just call him Checo. Checo Perez is fine. You're either gonna watch this and go like, oh yeah, it's Checo. I know who he is, or you're like, I don't know, call him Sergio, call him Checo. I still have no idea who this is, and I can't wait until you do thank you notes, right? Like, I just think that just one or the other is fine. I mean, Flip's, that's his nickname. I don't call him, I don't go, this is my husband, Charles Flip. No, it's just Flip. It's fine.
Yeah.
So
I'm Charles Flip Medley.
Yeah. I mean, the only reason he does it at work is because if you try to look up his email under Flip, you won't find him, right? Like, you have to know what his government name is.
Out Charles Medley at flip.com.
Exactly. So, but I think like Pecco Bagnaia, where for literally years, I didn't realize that Pecco's first name was not Pecco Bagnaia. Nobody calls him Francesco. Nobody. I mean, I don't think his own mom calls him that. Everybody calls him Pecco. Just stick with it. Yeah. If you're going to call him Checo. Just leave it at that, Jimmy. Or call him Sergio because you're not tight like that. Whatever.
Or call him Lance.
Yeah. Just call everybody Lance. That's fine. You're a Formula One guy, right? You're Lance.
You're Lance.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it. Lance, how's it going?
You're the Spaniard, Lance. Yeah.
That would be great. Could you imagine Checo's like facial expression if somebody called him Lance? Like, Lance. Just keep smiling, Jimmy Fallon. I'm so glad to be here. That's just weird. And then I did start like looking at some information since Jenson Button is going to do the Le Mans with the NASCAR Garage 56 with Jimmy Johnson and Mike Rockenfeller. But again, like I mentioned at the top of the show, I got sucked in accidentally when I looked at NASCAR into the black hole of what the heck is overtime in auto racing. And so I don't know, Jenson Button's going to Le Mans. That's all I got. And there's some NASCAR thing and they had to put headlights on it, but otherwise it's a Camaro stock car.
Cool.
Because, overtime. I don't.
Well, hopefully Mike doesn't bowl it up in the wall at the final chicane like he did the Audi on LP1.
Well, that would be painful. That would be very painful. So
very painful.
That's what Jensen's going to be doing. And
good for Jensen.
Yeah. So we'll see that. And I'll keep trying to figure out NASCAR's finishing rules.
All right. Fair enough. Are you ready for the no shit headlines?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, here we go. First up, Mercedes and Hamilton had first chat over F1 contract.
When's his contract up?
The end of this year, I think it is.
Oh, okay. I was hoping you were going to say like 2026.
2027.
That's a far funnier headline than like, oh yeah, this year. Yeah. That makes sense. You would start talking about it now. But I want it to be like 10 years from now, and they're starting those conversations now.
So there you go. Starting those conversations.
They're starting to push that piece of paper across the table.
That's right. Nope. Lewis going up high, 3 wide, going over there.
How about this?
About the contract, Larry Mack.
Yeah, Larry Mack. I miss Larry Mack.
I do.
Well, that's great.
Me too.
Maybe they should get him on Formula One. That would be fun.
Larry Mack as part of the Sky team.
Yeah.
Would be hilarious.
Next time Martin Brundle can't make a race, just bring Larry McReynolds over.
That would be awesome.
Larry McReynolds, yes. That would be great.
Let's see. Next one. Alonso expects difficult race to start with... Oh, wait a minute. Alonso expects difficult races to start with Aston Martin in F1.
You're the one that's going to be difficult. Everybody else expects difficult.
Everybody else is old hat, man. You're the spanner in the works.
That's right. I mean, I guess maybe that's much like I was talking about Carlos Sainz being like, well, yeah, I know the car's here, but don't blame it on me when this blows up, right?
Right,
that's the car. Maybe that's just Alonso trying to manage that same expectation of like,
I think
it's not me, it's them, right?
Yeah.
They're the ones that suck, not me.
It's the car. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, and this one. Mercedes, Red Bull, and Ferrari playing same game as Alpine chief discusses suspicions about Merc and Red Bull and Ferrari. So I'll read it again. Mercedes, Red Bull, and Ferrari playing same game as Alpine chief discusses suspicions.
So
those two things aren't even like tied together. So
first of all, Christian Horner was like, Alpine has a team? You know, like I don't think that they're really worried about Alpine.
Right. And it sounds like over here, Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes are playing the same game. So they're over here playing ping pong. Oh, yeah. And while they're doing that, an Alpine chief over here is discussing suspicions. Whatever. I don't know. That was just such a bizarre headline. I had to use.
You know, I guess the thing is that it would work. I would click on that article because I don't understand the headline.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe if I read the article, I could be like, oh, because I mean, that's part of the joy of this is that it's because you get like 7 words or something like that. Like you get 24 characters to explain your entire article.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's just these weird things and you're like, I think that needed a comma somewhere, or that should be 2 sentences. Or
well, I fell for it. The jerks. I clicked on it and I found out that what the guy from Alpine is saying is that those 3 teams are bringing in, quote, reliability improvements to their car, but they reckon Mercedes found up to 10 brake horsepower in their engine reliability upgrades. And they're saying that Alpine hasn't done that, and the other 3 teams are somehow magically finding more performance with what is supposed to be just a reliability upgrade.
But didn't Ferrari have to turn its engine down last season? I mean, that's the reliability issue.
Well, they were having a reliability issue. They turned their engines down so they weren't blowing up.
Right, that's what I mean.
But what the rules say is that you can't develop the engine, and the only thing you can do now that it's frozen is you can bring in new parts if they're purely for reliability. Like if you had a certain part that was less reliable, it was too thin, you need to make it a little thicker or whatever it was, or a different material. And you can bring those parts in, but it wasn't supposed to improve performance, right? And they reckon these, quote, reliability upgrades have discovered or recognized 10 brake horsepower more for Mercedes. So
I guess in some ways, I don't know how you separate reliability from increasing your horsepower, right? Like, I don't know.
Well, they're supposed to. Yeah.
I understand they're supposed to. I'm just saying that seems like a strange line in the sand, I guess, for the FIA to make. But
yeah, I don't know. I guess I would just.
Yeah, and I guess what I was trying to poorly make as a statement was that I could see where for Ferrari, if you are having reliability engines at this level, so you turned it down to this level, and you're able to make some reliability changes, you should be back at that beginning level again, right? So you would expect that Ferrari would be better because they specifically turned it down so that it would stop blowing up. And if they could make some pieces thicker, for example, so that it doesn't blow up,
or more durable,
right. So then they should be able to turn it back up to where it was, and that's where it should have been this past year.
Right.
I don't know. All right.
Next one. Otmar Safnauer bites back at Fernando Alonso over happy with 4th jibe at Alpine.
Okay, so if the last one was totally out of my swim lane, this one is totally in my swim lane. That's right.
Yeah.
I love it because. Go ahead.
Oh no, a little bit of Otmar talking smack about Alonso. That goes a long way with you.
I love it because Alonso was like, "I'm just glad to be the team that doesn't celebrate being in 4th." And then Otmar in their car launch and Alpine's car launch was like, I don't know. He was celebrating 4th just like the rest of us. He seemed pretty happy about it, right? Like, so I just love that Otmar was like, the fake, like, I was baffled by that comment. He seemed to really enjoy coming in 4th, you know?
Of which Aston Martin wasn't last year.
Right. So I just love the, that subtle shade being thrown right back at Alonso by Otmar. It was great.
That was great. I thought this is a sign of the times headline. It says, quote, "Who is Christian Horner's wife, Jerry Halliwell?" And we've reached a point.
Doesn't everybody know?
No, apparently not. I think we legit have reached a point with F1 Drive to Survive and Gen Z that they literally, Christian Horner is more popular and more known than the Spice Girl, than Ginger Spice.
What has this world come to?
I know. I think we are at that point where people know Christian Horner, but they don't know who she is.
I feel like
Spice Girls is so 90s.
I feel like Jerry Holloway should have a very Alonso moment. Like, I am the #1 driver in this family. Me.
That's right.
Not you. You and your
Right.
Drive to Survive, take it somewhere else. This is my show. But I mean, they still tour. They're still, I don't know. Like, people know who the Beatles were. It's not like they, were famous when I was alive. I don't know. It's the Spice Girls. What do you mean you don't know who they are? Not that the Spice Girls are the Beatles, but you know what I'm getting at here.
Thought we had to write an article about who Jerry Halliwell was. Thought that was interesting. Next headline: Michael Schumacher fans outraged at cruel, quote, dead man walking jibe at F1 star's son Mick in Netflix's Drive to Survive. Apparently, Gunther.
Oh, wow. So surprised.
I know. No surprise, right?
I was just like, what kind of a human? Oh, Gunther. That's who would say that.
Yeah. Apparently, he was talking to Gene, and it can be overheard in one of the episodes where he's saying that Mick is a dead man walking. And I think even the name of that episode is in poor taste. So anyway, a lot of Schumacher fans outraged by that.
As they should be.
Yes, I agree.
God.
I agree. I think the final is an interesting one.
Okay.
Quote, curious, end quote, Honda already approached over 2026 F1 engine deal. Curious in what way? Is Honda, this
sounds like a
F1 curious?
A newspaper one ad or something like seeking, seeking female kind of like.
Yeah, bi curious.
Yeah, something. I don't know. What does that mean? Like,
yeah.
I'm looking for I'm curious about this lifestyle, right?
Yes, right.
Curious. That's such a curious word to use.
I'm swinger curious.
I don't. Yeah, right. Like
what?
Okay.
So Honda is curious, and they were already approached for 2026. So we talked about this in one of the past podcasts. What's left for Honda, right? And so they said they've already had multiple approaches. So that would tell me that possibly McLaren has talked to them about going back to Honda, which I think is a difficult situation. However, that was in the previous ownership iteration of McLaren with Ron and team and Martin, and that was always going to be difficult. Maybe with Zach and team, they'd be a little more open. I said at the time that when Honda was with McLaren and they were really not getting along well, and even before they were not getting along well, I said, if Ron doesn't get it worked out with Honda, I'm telling you, Honda will go to Red Bull, and Red Bull will work with Honda, and they'll be successful. And they were. And I'm saying now that I think if Honda went back to McLaren, they would be more successful. That's my shake, probably true.
I don't know. I refuse to believe it.
I know. It's hard to believe, but I feel like with Zach and team, they will know the tight fences that Ron and team were trying to put around Honda. And I think Honda will have known after just spending several years with Red Bull winning titles that car by committee isn't always going to work, that they'll be more used to Red Bull's business processes and maybe more amenable to working with McLaren instead of being all augured and under Honda's process, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, but I just feel like Honda, you can keep showing up on my doorstep with your flowers and your chocolates, and I just can't. I can't take it.
I don't know if
it's not
if
working
them,
out.
I think it would be McLaren, possibly Williams, possibly Haas.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that come to mind.
Yeah, I mean, those are the right. It's not going to be.
Choices.
Although I do like the idea of, Flip and I were talking. It was like, well, it's not going to be Haas, or they could just build like the Berlin Wall between their factory and Ferraris and change engine suppliers. Like,
right.
What is that? What is that building noise going on outside? Right. And then they get a note that says, we don't need your engines anymore. Thanks. Right.
Yeah.
They're like next door to each other. I was like, so that's the story. I want Haas to take a different engine. It doesn't have to be Honda, but I just think what could be better for Haas than to like totally build your factory right next door to Ferrari and then just build a wall between you. No, we're not interested anymore.
Well, look, there's a few teams that it could be intriguing. They've just won 2 titles with their engine, so they know what they're doing.
Somebody does.
It took them a while to get to that point, which was the teething pain they had with McLaren. But now that they're at that point and they know what it takes, I think they would be more successful. I think any one of those teams would probably at this point be wise to go with Honda, because if everybody's got a Merc engine, Renault engine, Ferrari engine, and Audi's going to do their own thing, Red Bull's going to do their own thing, then having a manufacturing giant like Honda behind your Williams, behind your Haas, behind your McLaren, I think could make sense. And of those, McLaren might be more attractive because they do make a road car that they'd probably like to have a super cool Honda engine in. So I don't know.
We'll just hope it's better than what's happening in MotoGP right now.
Yes.
And then maybe I'll be convinced that it'll be okay. But I'm not right now.
That's right. Does anybody have anything for Marcus?
I don't know. Apparently the answer is no. So
all right.
Don't have anything for him.
That is it.
Yes.
That does it for this podcast. We are done. Let us know what you think of the launches, cars, people, places, events.
Alonso's hair.
Lance's arm. And you can do that by going to theparcfermé.com. Just share your opinion with, that's on Grace's shirt there. Share your opinion with the Quorum Civility. As always, if you like the podcast, go over to iTunes, give us a good rating, give us some love, and a huge thank you to our Patreon supporters. If you like this podcast and you thought, I've been listening to this podcast quite a bit, and I like this podcast, even if they're only occasionally insightful. Yeah. And gosh darn it, I'd like to support their effort, because I know that they would not and could not do that podcast if it wasn't for their supporters, and I want to be one of them. You can go to our website on the right-hand side or at the bottom left of the website. It says support us. You can become a Patreon supporter for as little as $1 a month. You can pay monthly or yearly, up to you, but we would certainly be grateful for your support as always. And until next week, Grace, I don't know. I got to talk to him.
I
think Paul and I are going to do the season preview next week.
All right.
That's the rumor. So stay tuned for next week when we do this all over again. Until that time, this is Todd, a.k.a. Negative Gamer, saying so long, Grace.
See you in a couple weeks.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.